How's it going, everyone? This is the Body Slam post show covering TNA Under Siege. I'm Burt Macklin, and I'm joined by a very, very, very special guest. If anyone follows TNA, you know this guy rides for him hard. Filling in for Datia, who is taking a short break, but she will be back, is my good buddy Io. Io, how you doing? Hi. How you doing, Io? Just give us 1 second, folks.
All right, are we good now?
How you doing, Io? Yeah, how we doing?
Doing good. Doing good, Bird. How you doing, man?
I'm feeling good. I'm excited to talk some Under Siege with you. I think me and you know this more than anyone. This was a typical card. You see the lineup, you're expecting it to be meh, but it over delivers like normal. I watched this card twice, and I think I enjoyed it more the second time. It was a very underrated show. What did you think?
Well, overall, I thought I think the show was good too. Going in, I think a lot of people kind of scratched their heads, looking at the card, kind of like feeling weary, but you know. I know, like, the TNA roster, they always, put in their best foot forward, no matter what position they're in. And I think for the most part, most of the matches delivered. Pretty, I mean, I would say most. Some will kind of get to, but
Yeah, I think that the matches people were probably sleeping on, for me, over delivered the most. And yeah, we're going to talk about that. But before I get into the show, I just want to remind everyone this week's podcast is sponsored by Shroom Bar, the protein mushroom bar. It's made up of not psychedelics, but 4 powerful mushroom adaptogens. It has lion's mane, which increases focus, memory, and neuroplasticity, making it easier to form new patterns and learn new things. Next time you're trying to learn that new move, it might actually stick instead of forgetting it immediately. It has cordyceps, which increases VO2 max, blood flow, and overall endurance. It has reishi, which decreases stress. It has turkey tail, which boosts your immune system. And we all know you're going to need that when you're on those nasty-ass gym mats. Overall, it has 12 grams of protein. Go to shroombar.com and use code Body Slam for your first purchase and get 25% off. Okay, now let's talk some TNA. We open the show, which again, pre-match, it's whatever. But it was with Xia Brookside versus Rosemary. I'm gonna let you go first, but I'm just gonna say that this match was the first of many that surprised me a lot.
well, going in, going in, we knew Xia and Rosemary. So basically, yeah, Rosemary is trying to like get a more darker, aggressive side out of Xia. Because Xia, she's the happy-go-lucky baby face. Always put on a bright smile, this and that. And I was very interested, thinking like, like, because as great as a baby face, as I is, like, can she get more serious when things don't go her? I mean, when things don't work out, or like, can she bring that new edge? And I think that's what Rosemary was trying to like bring out of, as we saw with the brass knuckles. The brass knuckle, yeah, giving her the brass knuckles, giving her these weapons for Xia to use. But credit to Xia, she always refused, and saying that you can win without cheating. basically. So going into the Under Siege match, it felt like Xia kind of had enough with Rosemary. Like she attacked Lane Ling last Thursday. So leading up to it, we kind of figured that it was gonna get bound to this. Like she was gonna like get more angry, get more ferocious, which she did with lettering the well she used she used a letter belt, right?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, using the letter belts towards Rosemary and then towards security and refs. And that's kind of like I kind of piqued interest, like, oh, okay. This is very interesting. And then the backstage segment we saw with her after. So the match, it was okay, but the segment and storyline is what matters, and I think, we're gonna get a very interesting side of Xia Brookside in the next coming weeks.
That's what I'm saying. This is why I'm glad I was able to get you on the show. I don't want to call this an angle match, but this match, I believe, not only served its purpose, but I think it did what we kind of wanted it to do. And then the whole goal was to see. I don't necessarily need to see Xia Brookside joins Rosemary, even though now I would be kind of welcome to that just because we need teams. But we want to see Xia snap.
Right.
And yeah, it was one thing to kind of hit Rosemary, but for her to start beating the shit out of the security, and then that promo she cut kind of put the icing on the cake. Like she kind of opened a new layer of herself. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with being a plucky baby face, but we all need to see our baby faces show a little bit of edge once in a while. They can't just every time something happens say, "Aw, shucks," and let it roll off their back. She snapped. I like this. I think that she needed this on her way to, because I think she will be kind of, just to kind of use a comparison. I think she's going to be a Willow type baby face for AEW. I don't think anyone is going to want to boo her. So I think turning her heel might have been the wrong idea. So this kind of gets her people to be behind her a little bit more. As to maybe if you were kind of being like, she's not really doing anything, not showing any edge. But I like this. This was great shit.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, maybe I wouldn't say heelish yet, but like
Yeah.
have like an aggressive version, because some baby faces, like, I think that's the thing with some baby faces and Joe Hendry in particular, like happy go lucky, but like not get serious when it comes to like serious talent, serious feuds.
Mhm.
I think that's what they're kind of going to go with Xia. Like I mean, she's a very, happy go lucky girl character, but like don't get on her, angry side, and then you'll see what happened as we saw with Rosemary. So, but yeah, overall, I would say, yeah, I think we're gonna see like a different side of different side of Xia Brookside the next coming weeks, and we'll see where it goes from there. Interesting is
Hey,
how
North.
Lei Ying will factor in, but we'll see.
Yes. Before we go on, hey Norris, thank you for saying good job. We appreciate that. Our next match was supposed to be Mike Santana versus AJ Francis, but if you were watching the show, and again, I need to lower my voice and be a little bit more, I would say, serious. We heard that AJ Francis suffered a turf toe injury, and I did get my degree from the Dr. Kevin Nash School of Medicine. So I went, I researched this, and this is a very serious injury. This occurs when the ligament under the big toe is hyperextended. This is no joke. And this is a common injury with football players. So even though it might have been not on the up and up, I did believe this. And I think that I don't think I'm going to complain. I don't know if you're going to complain, but I'm not. I love Casey Navarro in this match. I thought we got a better match than what we would have got. No disrespect to AJ Francis, but I like this. This kept the train rolling and me being surprised. This was a good match. Well, wait till Isle gets back. I thought that KC and Mike Santana played very well off of each other. I like the role of I like the way that they book Casey. He's kind of the heel that's out there, not an underdog because you're not necessarily root for him, but you're kind of wanting to see him get his ass kicked. And every once in a while, he's going to get a little bit of offense out there. But at the end of the day, you do kind of want to see him get his. And again, Santana just continues to be that top star. I love the nickname The Standard because it definitely seems like he is, that top guy now, especially face-wise. The crowd eats it up every time he comes out. He gets a monster pop. Coming through the crowd doesn't hurt. But yeah, I love this match. All right, I was back. What did you think about this?
It was a very good opener. I believe yes, Santana and Navarro they faced. They faced before on Impact, and I thought it was a really good banger. Casey Navarro, I think we have yet to see what he's really capable of. Like obviously, he's doing well with First Class with AJ Francis, but I've known Casey for a while. He's very good, very witty on the mic. And last night was just was example like what he's capable of doing. And he was on the Ultimate X last month. So did you talk about what happened after the match yet? Or?
No, I did not.
Okay, all right. As far as Santana, obviously he's great. He's the standard. He's beaten Moose. He's beaten Alexander, Mustafa Ali. Like we know where the direction is heading. Where he's going to be, the top dog of TNA, as we'll get to obviously later. But yeah. So far it was a great opener. Great opener.
And what just real quick before we move on, what do you want to see out of First Class? Because I think me and you have talked before how I could see AJ Francis as a single champion again along with Casey Navarro, but I think you were the kind of the one to hammer it home to me. I think them as tag team champions, it's like should be the ultimate goal. What would you say to that?
I agree. I say tag team champions mainly because
Yeah.
I think both guys are at their best like when they're side by side. Like AJ being the big dude, the powerhouse dude, and Casey, doing all the flashy moves and doing the whole annoying talk. Like they both have. I know like originally it was AJ and Rich Swann, forming First Class, but I'm kind of liking this current version with him and Navarro. I feel like Navarro is really coming his own, and AJ, they're easy to get heat. Like as we saw when they did the El Paso El Paso episodes, like they really got good heat. So putting the tag titles on them, it would be good for storyline purposes for the tag division, most specifically because we haven't really had much tag feuds outside the current one with the Hardys and Nemeths. So I would say keep them together as a team for the time being, and
See, even though Swan and Casey are around the same size, Swan maybe a few inches taller, I think that the dynamic was always going to be a problem there because while we thought Rich needed to be kind of rehabilitated a little bit, this is him coming off losing his title, not being able to get it done against Kenny. I always thought that group was going to have a short shelf life, but now that you have Casey in there, this is the prototypical. I don't like to use comparisons, but this is a better version of Enzo and Kaz to me. Because Casey, I think, is a great worker, and he does all the same things that Enzo does. Maybe he might not be as boisterous on the mic, but that's not a problem for me. I don't need that. But the idea of AJ being the heavy, Casey's going to go out there and be that gnat, going to get his ass kicked most of the time, and then they're going to get most of their wins by that. And, Casey's cocky, he's brat. I love this group. I think the dynamic, and I think they would benefit them as a current stands. I know that the Nemeths are champions, but as current stands, this is the type of team that I think would benefit from the rub of beating the Hardys. If they, you know what I mean? If that's what would have went down. I don't know I don't know where we go from here in the tag division or who beats the Nemeths, but because I don't think it'll be First Class 2 heels. But yeah, put the belts on First Class eventually. Okay. Before the match, we had a little bit of a segment. It was Eric Young and Cody Deaner backstage. Real quick. Also, after the match, Santana and AJ did attack him. It didn't seem like Navarro's head was there. It didn't seem like Navarro's head was in it all the way, but he did join in, and ultimately he did help in the attack. So again, I don't need to see any First Class tease of a breakup. Yeah, it's too soon. You know what I mean? If any group needs to be breaking up, it's the system. But that's a story for a different day. But again, this was a good match. It was fun. Better than I thought. I was pleasantly surprised we got KC just because add a different dynamic. This is good shit. Okay, next we're going to move on before we move to the next match. We had Eric Young and Cody Deaner segment. This was just backstage, kind of Cody, Eric Young, which this didn't make sense, but then obviously because we weren't gifted the gift of hindsight, but it kind of seemed very like a face promo, like a face moment from Eric Young. And obviously, again, later in the night that came to fruition even more, and we were rewarded with maybe, I guess, somewhat of a face turn. But yeah, it's just a little Cody Deaner and EY quick segment. And real quick, did you want to say anything about after the AJ and the EY? I mean, Casey Navarro and Santana match. Did you have anything else to say?
I think that's about it. Yeah, it's far from over. So see where we go from there.
What did you think about this Eric Young and Cody Deaner segment backstage?
Very, very fitting and touching. Because the history with Violent by Design and the falling out after with that infamous segments where with Cody.
Yes.
We at what we assumed, like killing EY, but like I think EY kind of like giving a little sense of encouragement before the match. But actually, yeah, we'll just get into the match because I was very interested, like as far as like the result of coming in. But
See, this is again, I totally forgot about Violent by Design, even though I shouldn't have. My mind went to this is two former exes of ODB just kind of talking to each other. You know what I mean? They both one point.
Yeah.
Peter was with her a little bit before my time. I remember those segments, but yeah, no. I like this, especially you bringing that up because yes, I think that was Deaner's most successful time was being in Violent by Design. But we'll get into the match. It was Eddie Edwards against Cody Deaner, and I believe, not on the show, but I believe you said it in one of the many group chats. I think Eddie Edwards could get a good match out of anybody.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Yeah, no. Again, he's a surefire Hall of Famer. I don't think anyone's put the company more on his back since he's been there than Eddie. But yeah, I like for what it was. Again, the more it went on, I was like, okay, I don't think Deaner's winning this because they didn't really give him much. But again, this was one of his better matches, and I'm going to give a lot of credit to Eddie Edwards. He's the man.
Yeah, Eddie, can't say much, can't say anymore, about Eddie Edwards. Great performer, wrestled everywhere, won championships everywhere. So going in, I knew like he was gonna give Deaner a great match, and like not to discredit Deaner too. He's a good wrestler too, but like Eddie is just like on different power levels. Like you put, let's say you put You put Eddie Edwards. I'm saying this praise real quick. You put him with anybody, even if it's like a lesser experienced talent. Eddie is gonna like work his butt to make sure that talent, make sure whoever is in the ring with him looks good. So going
Yeah,
in, yeah, it was hard. I ain't gonna lie, it was kind of hard because we seen this type of stuff where this person doesn't win, he's gone from this company, and most of the time the person does actually retain his
yeah.
job and start staying with the company. So like going into it was a good match, a lot of back and forth. Alicia, being the nice, being the being the good heel valet wife supporter, she is. So what surprised me was well, yeah, she got involved a couple times. What surprised me, Diener kicked out when he got hit with the system ring, I believe. Like, and usually, like, they've used that before. They used that before, the ring on their opponents, and it'd be 1, 2, 3. So when Diener kicked out, I figured like, oh, he could win this. Like, I mean, he's his home country. They were all behind Diener as it's supposed to be, which was very good. The crowd was behind it, and then Alicia got involved again. I think the ref caught. I think the ref. I knew the ref caught her at one point. Like I like in the beginning of the match, the ref. I know I'm going back to early. The ref caught Alicia, gave her a warning, and then she still started getting involved anyway. So yeah, Alicia gave Diener the low blow, and then Eddie took advantage. 1, 2, 3. Um, yeah, I was actually surprised. I'm surprised that Eddie actually won. So
and
I guess
and to what
this is actually a thing. Well, like
yeah,
yeah,
to what you were saying though, like whether it was kind of Diener powering through the chops or him kicking out of getting hit with the system ring, you knew even if he was going to lose, they were going to give him a lot in just terms of looking like he almost had it. You know what I mean? I didn't think this was going to be a
yeah,
squash match. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
yeah, this was fine for what it was. And I'm assuming Diener maybe will probably be going to some sort of backstage role.
yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
for certain folks don't know, Diener he works at as a producer for the company besides
oh
wrestling. So I
okay.
figured maybe that's yeah. Yeah, I figure, that's probably where you're gonna resume to more.
And yeah, being with the
But I mean
company
if
as long
this
as
was it, yeah. Sorry, but if this was his last match, I mean it was a hell of a way to go out, with a great champion and a great world champion Eddie Edwards is. Yeah.
I like the idea of we see this a lot though. If he is because him working as a producer, I like the idea of people almost like working their way up in the company. You know what I mean? And then when they're done with their wrestling, kind of sticking around. You know what I mean? I like
Yeah.
the family element of that, and who better to kind of be backstage and people have been in the locker room with these people. So
Yeah.
I do like that aspect of Diener being a producer.
Yeah.
Okay, before and then I thought this was fun. After Diener loses, we kind of get the system coming out to gloat, kind of rubbing salt in the wound. And then who else was going to come out and defend him? I was surprised to a monster pop, but if we know anything about Canada, they ride for their own. Let's go back to the Canadian
Mhm.
Stampede. The Hearts were over like gods. The Northern Armory, they come out and start defending Canada. This was a de facto babyface turn for me. And again, I don't have a problem. Eric Gunkin is a hell of a face. He's a hell of a heel. I don't mind. And the goal for me was always to get the Center and Saint over. And I thought this was their best match. They look good out there.
Yeah. Also, the verbal burial, of the Diener and the system. Yeah, I thought that was kind of like so heelish, like rubbing salt in the wound. Like, come on, guys. Like he lost. He's not working here
Yeah.
anymore. Like, don't have to rub it in. But yeah, I mean, if anyone was gonna like come quote unquote save the day, it was gonna be the three Canadian guys we have in the Northern Armory. And yeah, we didn't get to the match yet, right?
No, I was just briefly touching on it. No, but yeah, I want you to start. But yeah, I really, really like this. Is probably one of my favorite matches on the show.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So very good match. Crowd was all over it. They were singing "Oh Canada," the national anthem, and then they said we got healthcare chant. That one kind of cracked me up because it is
The
known,
teenage
like, that
crowd,
country does have good healthcare.
the teenage chants are always creative.
Yeah.
Yes, that was really good, and I also like the element of and because it reminds me a lot of watching wrestling as a kid. I like the involvement of the Canada's local guys. You know what I mean? You had the mayor.
Yeah.
Of course, you had the mascot, which I thought that was fun. It didn't take away from the match, but yeah. And then I forget who else got involved, but this was so fun. And again, like I said, the offense whenever Center and Saint were in there, just the combo tag team offense reminded me a lot of the stuff that we saw the Motor City Machine Guns like Pioneer. Just a lot of team offense. They were playing off of each other really well, and like hopefully we see more of these guys because I don't think that they've had. I don't know the date, but I believe Josh brought them in, or I believe that they debuted in TNA at the end of last year. In between now and then, I think they've had a handful of matches, not a lot of wins, but to me, this was their biggest win. Obviously, at home, they were over like God. They were over like gods. So I love this match, and I love the result even more. And now going forward, I would say let's start the agenda. And I said this on Thursday's show. I think we're Center and because the tag team division right now in TNA is loaded. This is like peak AEW tag team division depth right now. I think that Center and Saint are kind of where the good hands were before they became the great hands. I think they're like the last team in the pecking order, but we're going to start building them up because, this tag team division is loaded right now. I think there's 6 teams that could all be tag team champs. Not a lot of companies can say that.
Yeah, Sinner and Saint, they're very well, very well skilled on the tag team, coming up on the indies. I knew like they were a great tag team. Putting them right now in a faction with Eric Young, it's kind of gonna help them, build their character up, because I think a lot of fans, like a lot of TNA fans in particular, are still trying to like figure out, what more about Judas and Travis. So they're on the right path and with this group. And EY, being the mentor and the teacher, because EY, he's done numerous factions from Team Canada, World Elites, Sanity, Violent by Design. So if there's anyone for those two to like go under the wing, is EY.
He's almost in the Coach Namor spot in Team Canada back then. You know what I mean? He's the coach on the floor out there. And who better? Yeah, EY is a TNA legend. So, surefire Hall of Famer as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. So the match, was very good. EY getting the pin on Moose. Very interesting. To be honest, like I'm kind of like a little scratch headed. Like Moose has been getting a lot of pins. I mean, taking some pins. Like Jeff Hardy pinned him. Zachary Wentz pinned him. Now EY pinned him, and he's the current X Division champ. So it's that's just kind of my pet peeve. Like we're supposed to keep these champions strong, or unless they're trying to at least build EY again in the next title shot or whatnot.
If I was going to spin that, that's interesting that you brought that up. I think because if we remember Ultimate X match, he basically won on not a technicality, but he barely won. If Leon Slater's feet would have touched the floor, he would have won. And that creative finish, I could almost spin this as like when Leon challenged him, the floor is cracking for Moose a little bit. You know what I mean? He barely won that match. He keeps taking losses. I think if I was going to spin it and say it's only a matter of time before he loses that belt. So you know what I mean? And he's had a good run, better than I thought. I think they said that he's at like around 170 days, which is a good run.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, I didn't realize that he has been taking him being the fall guy of the system is not something I thought about when this group started.
Mm-hmm.
You thought that would have been Myers, but the most professional wrestler. He's the most professional wrestler for a reason. He might, he found some loopholes. He ain't getting pinned. Okay,
well, I mean, Myers got pinned last Thursday, but yeah.
Yeah. Next we have, which I thought was, and shout out to TNA, we had 8 women competing across 4 matches on last night's show. So, again, TNA is still the standard for North American promotions when it comes to showcasing the women. That's never going to change. But we had the Knockouts Tag Team Champions, the Elegance brand versus Spitfire, with the stipulation of Spitfire loses. They have to break up. I thought this was the best women's match on the show. Watching it twice. Again, and real quick, before I say anything else, kudos to TNA. Kudos to Ash. She's finally found her footing. This is the best she's looked ever. And I thought this match was sensational. It was a back and forth brawl. There were times where I thought Spitfire was going to do it, but there was definitely a storyline in the match that I think that the stipulation was weighing on them, that if they lost, they had to break up. And there was kind of times where they were maybe hesitant, or they just didn't they looked like they were all on the same page. What did you think about this match?
Well, before I get into the match, I think we kind of should address the ongoing complaints, because I believe this is their fourth match, I believe, and then they've been feuding since October. So
Okay,
basically, the tag division is kind of been a little not living up as it should be, or I guess you could say, when it's only been 2 teams feuding. But I mean, that's for another conversation later. But Spitfire, as good. I think we should address, as good as they are as a tag team, they're good as singles. Jody Thread, Danny Luna, they're very good. Like I've seen Danny. I've known Danny, from her UK and NXT UK Indies, NXT UK. She's very good. She's a very good powerhouse. And as we've seen, she's some would say she's almost reminds you of Jordan Grace in some sort, similar, can do all the power moves. And Jody Threat, she's very good. She's very good herself. I wouldn't sleep on her. She's at very, the wild child, that is kind of how she is. She can get really very energetic, very very well orthodox, type of talent. So I'm giving my praise to both of them as singles. So going into the match, with the stipulation, if they lose, that they disband, I think we kind of figured, yep, that's kind of the end of the road for the team, because they already did that before, as we talked before, with them winning the titles back months back with that stipulation. Now doing it again, you kind of figure well, I don't know if they're gonna get lucky again. The match by Elegance, uh, it was for what it's worth. I would say the match is for what it's worth. The crowd was already energetic after the previous matches. So this, I didn't expect kind of much, but I did expect interference, from the personal concierge and Maggie Lee getting involved. There were some good spots. The table spots were I think they tried to do a table spots, but it didn't work out. And then they did, and then Ash had to dive onto Luna to get that done. But I will say shout out to the personal concierge. He is he is. The funny thing is he's Canadian, and here he is, trashing the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah, that was the theme of the night. Again, I think a heel 101 in wrestling is when you're in Canada, if you bash the hockey. I go back to when The Rock cut that promo and he called the fans mother Canuckers and said that the Maple Leafs sucked. And I've never seen so many people flip off one person in a wrestling ring. They were fucking pissed. So. Yeah, and going the real quick, I don't know who this rogue table was, whether it was Thursday night or tonight, but this one was more of her head kind of hit the end of it. Looked a little scary, but again, you mentioned it did break on the end. But yeah, this match was just a good mess. There were so many good spots, whether it was the glitter was fun. I really liked the tag team offense from Ash and Heather. I think they work really well together. Ash's swanton is one of the best. I don't know how long she's been doing that move, but it looks clean every time. And as far as Spitfire breaking up, usually when there's a tease of a breakup, I think fans are always kind of worried what's going to happen to who they perceive as a less talented one. But I think this group, both of them are single stars. And I think they're both different. I think, you have Danny the powerhouse. I think Jody is this animated. She, like they said, the wild child. I think she lives that gimmick. I think they both could be single stars. So I'm not worried. And real quick, I want to read a comment from Joe. What up, Joe? The TNA Knockouts division is a damn joke. Where do the Elegance brand go? Who the hell knows? I stand by they need more knockouts teams. I want you to take this first because I think that you and me, we talk about this all the time. And I think we kind of can see that they have something planned. But I want to hear what you have to say to that comment. Can't hear you, Io. Having a little technical difficulties. Yeah. I think that, I'm one of those people who, because they even kind of made a note, and again, it always rubs me the wrong way. They noted that Spitfire during the match was the second longest. They've held the belts the second longest and the longest for a female team. Because again, they're referring to the Eric Young and ODB to what led to the titles being shelved for a little bit. You could argue that a singles female title might be better than a tag team title. You could also say this, especially after it seemed like two of the teams that TNA were using from NXT a week after they were released. But I do think that internally they're building something. And I don't know if they on a side note, this segment happened yet, but earlier in the crowd were the new signings of Mila Grace and Harley Hudson, who just exude charisma. they had a match on Explosion, which I need to check out. But to me, that could be a ready-made team. If Xia decides to turn and join Rosemary, that's a ready-made team. I think that internally, and again, I do think Indi and Steph could be a team. And I do think there's a chance just because of the relationship that TNA brings in every single one of those women released by WWE. And I would have no problem with that. You put Gigi and Cora together, I'm fine with that. But yeah, I'm not too worried just because, again, this company has given me plenty of reasons not to doubt them. So, again, Joe, I don't think you're being too blunt. I get what you're saying, but at the same time, I'm gonna trust them a little bit, just because, again, we know this company. They've given us plenty of reasons. I know it looks a little grim right now, and they've kind of had trouble with these belts since they brought them back. But I do think that they will get it right, especially if they are going to still continue to go in this direction. So we'll give it a minute and see what they do. Okay. And obviously, after this, we talked about was the Xia Brookside promo. I thought it was great. Money promo. It was short, but it got it points across. I don't think her and Rosemary are done, but I definitely don't think that. I think that it could go either way with her joining her, or we get more matches, and I'm completely fine with that. Next, we have Mustafa Ali, Tasha Steelz, John Skyler, and Jason Hotch, otherwise known as the Order 4, taking on Trey McGill, Zachary Wentz, Indi Hartwell, and they're returning. I don't know if he was fired, campaign manager, Campaign Singh, also known as Raj Singh. What'd you think about this match? Okay. Wait till I was having a little difficulties again. I thought this was okay. And first off, again, this is another match. It was a mixed match, but still, more women in the match with them fine. Especially, I need to see more of Tasha Steelz. I just think she's so underrated. She's a former champion, and she can still be underrated. Just because I don't think that they have used her to her full potential. But and again, anyone who's complaining about Indi being in this match, I don't think that they watched enough of NXT, because while Indi has been wrestling a while, and I believe she is a former NXT World Champion briefly, I still think she should be considered green. So them putting her in matches like this, and obviously if you watch wrestling, any promotion, multi-man matches are something every company utilizes. It's ways to get more people on the show, but it's also a way to kind of get lesser experience people in a match and kind of hide their weaknesses and really showcase their strengths, especially when there's a hot tag utilized. I thought this was a really, really fun. Okay. I was back. I want to hear what you had to say about the Knockouts tag titles because I don't think anybody heard what you said. So I really want them to hear what you had to say about that.
All right. Yeah, I mentioned like they're kind of slow with the booking, basically.
And real quick, I want to say kudos to you because, I was a little bit, I think I'm always trying to quick to look for that next faction that could be the beautiful people. And for a while, I was like, you know what? I see a lot in Fatal Influence, but they weren't in TNA. And you were the first one to bring in and say to me, wait a minute, I think the Elegance brand is a new beautiful people. And you know what? You're right. You're completely right. This whole group is money. You know what I mean? You've got basically the Angelina and Velvet Sky with Ash and Heather. They just added the Madison in the Maggie Lee. And this is going back to the early days. We got the George Iceman playing the cute Kip role. This group is money, okay? You know what I mean? Like I really do. Yeah. And hopefully we get a segment where maybe the beautiful people could pass the torch. Maybe give them the ugly stick. You know what I mean? Like really kind of crown them.
Yeah.
But okay, so obviously we talked about.
I basically I basically kind of get those beautiful people vibes. Basically, I mean, the blonde hairs, the makeup, doing all that stuff. Like you for a TNA fan, you instantly think like, oh, they're doing stuff that the beautiful people. The original beautiful people were doing back in the day. So
a lot of makeovers.
Put that out. Like hey, like keep an eye on this. This Elegance brand thing. So, yeah.
Okay, and so obviously, and I had mentioned that we talked about the Xia promo. So we are on the 8-man tag, Order 4 versus the Rascalz, Indi, Hartwell, and then the returning disgruntled Campaign Singh, aka Raj Singh. Who is he from Canada?
Yes.
Okay. I thought again, more knockouts. Tasha being in a match who at some point I don't see how a former world champion can be almost underrated, but Tasha's too good to not be used to her full potential. I thought this was a really fun match. And again, anyone complaining about Indi being in it, two things. Multi-man matches are kind of par for the course for pay-per-views. It's a great way to get people in a match. And what a great way to... Indi needs to be in there with good workers, and she was in there with 7 great workers. So I think that this match, all of her strengths were highlighted. So I thought this was a good match.
Yeah, me too. Having the Rascalz, having the Rascalz in it, like you're always gonna get a burner, with those two involved. Jason Hodge, very underrated. John Schuyler, good on the mic. Tasha Steele's underrated. The inclusion of like Campaign Singh, I get it makes sense. It makes sense, but like for like the mystery partner aspect, I think it kind of like brought some folks down. But I mean, obviously, it wasn't their first choice because originally Ace Austin was supposed to be in that match. But for what is worth, I mean, yeah, I know the crowd was kind of like doing some "Who are you?" chants, and like, but for the most part, they made the most of it, and the match was good. We seen for Mustafa Ali, that we're getting like a different change out of him. Like he's not the same, trying to make TNA better, politician-ish character. I mean, he is still there in some sense, but now this Mustafa Ali, he's dark, he's aggressive, like ruthless, and it just brings back to like I mentioned. I mentioned on our chat a while back, like the feud with Ali and Santana is far from done.
No,
Because
yeah,
it's far from done because Mustafa's mind, he feels he's better. He's better than Santana in every way. Like Santana's beneath him. But then, like, after that rebellion match, like, we see things change. Like, Santana, he's doing his own thing, and now Mustafa, it feel like he can't shake off that loss, and now he's going after talent. I mean, now he's being relentless, over on talent, like putting their head under the ring rope. I mean, under the ring aprons, as we see, and obviously we saw later on where when the Gray Hands and Tasha were trying to calm him down, he pushed Tasha to the floor and didn't have like a soul of like remorse or whatnot. So yeah, I'm basically, yeah. I think, and one other thing, I think we've yet to see. I know it's crazy because like he's been there for like a year. We've yet to really see what Mustafa is capable of from like he can carry a brand standpoint. So I'm very interested where this going.
Yeah, a couple things. Yeah, one, I forgot the Ace was supposed to be in this match. And on a side note, do you think that this is almost kind of maybe like, because I've seen someone mention it, do you think this could be like an Ali situation where he's just kind of taking a break and then we ended him back in TNA? Or do you think it's done?
Who again?
Ace. Do you think he's done with TNA or do you think he could end up back kind of like
Oh,
Ali?
um, it's possible. Yeah, it's possible. What I heard, that TNA did try to, like, keep him, and they couldn't come to like a terms. So hopefully, the conversation still goes. I mean, we'll have to see. Because I think very highly of Ace. As you too. He's a very good homegrown talent, and it does suck to see him part ways. So hopefully, hopefully it's not the end of. But do I think he can come back? Yeah. He's only in his 20s, early 20s. The dude's very young, very bright, has a very upside. So we'll just see where it goes from there. But I think the best from I think he is destined for bigger things, no matter the
Uh-huh.
company. So yeah, he's destined for bigger things, no matter the company. So we'll just have to see what he does next.
When Raj Singh started talking and mentioned, like, again, I was a little let down. But why, if you're going to get anybody to be a partner, why not tie up a long story of Raj Singh being the former campaign manager? I would have laughed if more they would have done like a "This Is Your Life" segment and had him talk first and then come out. Be like, wait, I know that voice, but you know what I mean? Like, even though it wasn't
Yeah.
overwhelming, again, at least he kind of fit in the match. You know what I mean? He does have ties to Ali, and Singh
Yeah.
can go. You know what I mean? So this was fine. And um, last thing on Ali, um, besides all like the cheap pops with kind of insulting the fans of Canada, the biggest heel pop of the night is when he baseball slid Indi Hartwell. The crowds lost their shit. They were pissed. So I do think that Ali, we're going toward the TNA where Ali's your top face in this company. I mean, your top heel, and Santana is your top face. Uh, yeah, no, Ali, and again, this darker side of Ali, where he's kind of, again, he wants to make TNA great, but he wants to do it his way. You know what I mean? And he doesn't care who has to step on to get to the top. And now he's just kind of snapped a little bit. So we're seeing a more darker side of him, still with the same goal, but you know what I mean? He's going to use violence to get it done. So again, this was good. Okay, before we move on,
Yeah.
well, what were you saying?
No, I agree. I agree.
Okay, before we move on to the next match, we have Santino giving his daughter a pep talk. These segments are always funny. His daughter Arianna definitely inherited his comedic timing and screen presence. Yeah, this was fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I enjoyed the father daughter segments with Santana and Ariana. Yeah.
And so next we have it was Tessa Blanchard versus Arianna Grace. And I'm gonna have to say, everyone knows I'm not the biggest Tessa fan, but I think Arianna needed this match because despite Arianna being in NXT and there are some good workers there, this was her best match. And I'm going to give some credit to Tessa. It's not like Arianna did nothing out there, but Arianna needs opponents like this if the goal is for her to become a better, if they're going to have her be a wrestler. So, again, I thought this match was better than probably people thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Being the ring general, of the match, she is, she was of course she was gonna help make Ariana look good. And yeah, and you're spot on. Ariana, this is kind of like, I know, like Ariana in NXT, she's kind of more of like a character than she is a wrestler. For those who watch NXT, so for going into this match, it felt like she needs to show the NXT audience, not just the TNA audience, like, hey, she can. Hey, I mean, like, she can, hang with, with some of the best NXT and TNA, have to offer. So, the match is what it was. The crowd, being pro Ariana, anti Tessa. Um, but for what it's worth, it was a decent match. Tessa, like I mentioned, she's gonna like work the match she wants to match. She wants to respect, like, play on the heat, show some offense, then give her opponent some offense, and then go home, with the finishing moves, and that was it.
Yeah, no. Again, I think Tessa deserves a lot of the credit, but again, Ariana held her own. I'm glad hopefully we see more of her in TNA, especially just because I thought, and this is no surprise, I thought this was her best match, but usually a lot of people's best matches happen in TNA, just the way they book. But yeah, I don't know where to go with Tessa from here. I don't know what the plan is, but it seems like they're still trying to keep her strong in case of just for the moment when they do put the title on her.
I agree.
Okay, and then afterwards, Santino checked on Arianna, and he trying to console her a little bit. And I don't know if I'm just going to go ahead and talk about this now. Santino was going to challenge Robert Stone to a match, but then Arianna stepped in and said that she wants to make it a mixed match. I don't know, against her dad and her versus Robert Stone and Tessa. I don't know. Did they announce when that match is happening?
I think probably this coming Thursday.
Okay. So next we're going to move on to the Knockouts Championship match. It was Masha Slamovich versus Victoria Crawford. People might know her as Alicia Fox. This was definitely, I thought, the weakest of the 4 women's matches. Well, 3, and then the other one had 2 women in it. But again, Alicia, I'm gonna give credit to TNA. Alicia seemed like she was in the right company. I don't ever remember WWE ever booking her this seriously and not to be more of a comedy character in the ring. And since she's been in TNA, this has been more serious of her. So I don't know what the plan with her is if she's sticking around long term, but it definitely seems like she's found her footing in TNA.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she had a rough fall out from WWE. Some situations, and some personal situations, involving her. But it's glad that she's getting at least another chance, to shine. I do know that she's very well loved by her fan base and quote unquote diva stance. So her coming in, I'd figure, like, actually, well, I'll say, I actually did like Alicia Fox back in WWE. I figured,
Yeah.
she's like very interesting character, and moves. So coming in, my thing was like, can she hang? Like, that's the thing. Like, it don't matter like who you are, like, or this and that. Because like when you're stepping into the ring with Masha Slamovich of all people, like, you better like show you can bring A game, and unfortunately the match didn't. At least I would say didn't deliver. I think like 'cause it was basically like a storyline match, like Robert Stone getting involved multiple times. Stone like I know we brought but I feel like man we got too much of this whole show countdown. But that's another. So it is what it was. I think Masha was in trouble. Nope. Because again, it was just basically just to like I guess give Victoria some shine. Let the world know, hey, she's still wrestling. But yeah, didn't expect much out of this match.
Masha did win. She hit the snowplow. Got the 1, 2, 3,
All
and
right.
then what was that? What were you saying, Niall? Okay, we'll continue till Io gets back. After the match, oh yeah. So what were your thoughts overall on the match?
All right. Well, while we wait for Burke to get.
No, I'm here. Well, what were your thoughts on the matchup overall?
What match you were talking about?
So just overall, like what'd you think? Like just like kind of like looking at the end, like did you think like because Victoria Crawford, this match kind of came out of nowhere, but did you at the end of the day were you fine with the match? Because again I was so because again I went in with low expectations and it over delivered for me. What did you think?
Are we back on the knockouts match again?
Yeah, no, I was just trying to get your final thought on it, like because I thought it over delivered for a match that I wasn't expecting much from. So what did you think? Knockout title match.
It didn't live up, but no one really expected for it to. Like no one really I mean, don't really know why Victoria got this title match, and nothing against her, but yeah, it was basically just kind of like a filler match.
Okay,
And
so
that's
after the
and that's disappointing. That's disappointing because Masha's in it. So
yeah, but you know what? That kind of leads me to again after the match, and I saw some people kind of wondering about this. Masha got the mic, and she was saying that she wanted some competition, and she kind of called out Yi Ling Yi, and just said that she's been paying attention to her, and says she deserves a match. And then Robert Stone kind of came out again, and this is kind of where I got sick of him, and said Yi Ling Yi's got to earn a match this Thursday. I have no problem with this because if Masha's going to call people out as a face, I don't think she's going to start naming heels. She's going to name the fellow faces that she thinks have been making moves. So, and again, I have no problem with this because Ying Lee's someone that I was glad when she came to TNA because I knew she had a lot of untapped potential. So I really do hope we get this match because I don't think that it needs a lot of build. And just because it's two faces against each other, once in a while a match just between two great wrestlers, I don't care what the dynamic is. You know what I mean? I just want to see who's better. So I hope we do get this match.
Right. I think it's funny because when Laying Ling debuted at the event sports and said it was really very good and competitive. So yeah, if anyone that can like match with the level of striking and if anyone can match, the striking and toughness of Masha, it's probably Lei Yingling. So I'm looking forward to that. As far as Robert Stone, yeah, I find it hypocritical saying like she needs to earn like Lei Yingling needs to earn it when Victoria Crawford, I mean, was basically handed the title shot. So it's just kind of funny from that point. So looking forward to it.
Speaking of Robert Stone, or I should say Sheriff Stone, there was a point in this show when Hannah Fan was questioning how he got that job. And Matthew Raywalt basically compared him to Steven Seagal, like kind of talking about that show, Steven Seagal Lawman, where he wasn't a real cop. But I was like, I don't know what if you're trying to get the point across that you want to get across. But I do like the. It's just funny now. Robert Stone's role in this company, even though I'm getting annoyed, is he's just he's the annoying guy trying to take power. You know what I mean? So even though I'm getting a little sick of it, I'm kind of interested to see where this goes.
Yeah.
Okay, next we get, and this in my opinion was the best match on the show. It was the TNA World Tag Team Champion matches. The Nemeth brothers versus Matt Hardy and Leon Hardy, aka Leon Slater. This was a fucking banger. And Ryan Nemeth held his own. So good job, Ryan. What did you think?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I think this match blew expectations because going into like we know the situation. Jeff Hardy, couldn't enter Canada, the country Canada. So Matt went ahead and picked Leon Slater, and for Leon Slater, this was a good showing for him because like to you're hanging in there with with Nick Nemeth, and I say Nick Nemeth, no offense to Ryan Nemeth, but and you're teaming with a great tag team legend, legend of Matt Hardy. So yeah, it was very. Fade and then the 450 flash, the 50 swanton. So kind of yeah.
Just I thought the highlight of the match was them going for poetry in motion, and something Ryan pulled Nick out of the ring, but Leon just did it anyway. But instead of going into the turnbuckle, he just jumped off Hardy and went over the turnbuckle to the outside. The camera kind of missed it a little bit, but it was definitely the holy shit moment of the night. And Leon completely held his own out there. Anyone who doesn't think this guy is that's what kind of softens the blow a bit when you see maybe some guys leaving TNA, because they got Leon Slater, who I think is going to be a star for this company for at least a decade. So, I would say this is one of the reasons why things are bright in TNA.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, sorry. One other thing. So yeah, Leon, he's this was a big showcase for him. Like, he showcased well in the Ultimate X, and now this match is gonna like further boost his stock to when he when he eventually wins, the X Division title. We'll see where that go for there. So yeah, the Nemeths winning was the right call. I think Matt and Jeff are gonna get like another chance at it probably come Slammiversary season. So we'll see where that goes from there.
Yeah, you know what? You would definitely want that. Would definitely be a smart move to not only have the Hardys on that card. It's a big building, but sending the fans home happy with the Hardys winning wouldn't hurt. I've happened.
Yeah.
Again, you talk about this all the time, and anyone who doesn't believe how much value the Hardys have for this company, they need to go to a live show. I was just happening to Rebellion, and they do not only get the loudest pop of the night, but it's like a rock star pop. It's very deafening. You got the whole crowd cheering.
Yeah.
The Hardys are still over. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Okay, so finally we're going to move on to the main event, which was Joe Hendry and Elijah versus Trick Williams and Frankie Kazarian. I was actually I was pleasantly surprised by this match. I thought that Trick continues to kind of be better in TNA. I don't know. There's just something about the way that TNA books. Like, I think that it's almost like when they do a match, they collectively before go to the wrestlers and maybe ask like, "What do you do well? I want to show that the most." And like, Trick is still a little green. He can talk. He's got the look down. But I thought this match they did a really good job. Everything he did, like the trick kick. I forget. I'm blanking on his finisher. That looked good.
The trick. Yeah.
And I actually thought, obviously, when Kazarian got in there, I thought, and no one should be surprised, he was the best worker in there. And surprisingly, I thought Elijah was the second best worker, despite the finisher. His finisher looks a little, but I thought Trick actually looked better than Joe at points in this match. And I don't know, just the way that Trick conducts himself when he was on commentary, I just think Trick would benefit from sticking around TNA for a while. But I thought this match was really good. I thought Ryan Nemeth works very well as the guy that goes out there and needs to get heat for being annoying. He does his job very well. So I really like this match.
Yeah, the main event, well, the crowd was all in it. Joe Hendry got a huge pop, like a huge pop. Like they like said lyric for lyric. As soon as like say his name and he appears, it just goes to show like how far Joe's come and the TNA brands come. Like we're still getting good reactions.
Yes.
And for Trick Williams, Trick, I've been a fan of Trick, in NXT with him since him and Carmelo Hayes, were doing their thing. And then, both guys went their separate ways. Trick got over and continues to be over too, in my opinion. So having him be a part of, this feud with Joe Hendry, I feel like it's pretty big. And like, we're gonna get to our prediction of the match tomorrow, Battleground. But yeah, the match just served its purpose. Elijah, Elijah too. I mentioned this on our chat. Like he's getting more wrestling work than he did in WWE, and that's a big plus right there. Because goes to show like what WWE thought of him. But Frankie, and also Frankie, being the great heel. It's funny, like he going in like it felt like he couldn't trust Trick either because I think Trick didn't help him out when he got whacked by that guitar last Thursday. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed the match and psychology of all four men.
Yeah. Go real quick on Elijah. Yeah, like the guy's got a great look, but it was almost just like when you're in WWE, they kind of have certain things that they all want every wrestler to do in their matches, like promos, etc. And yeah, just TNA just took Elijah again. They know what he does well, and they showcased it a lot. Like he fucking looked really good out there. And again, I think this is his best run of his career. You know what I mean, wrestling wise. And as far as Trick, my thing with Trick Williams is, we always hear the thing like, oh, people have done all they can in a certain place. And so my argument for why I think Trick should go to TNA for a little bit, maybe not leave WWE, but kind of do an extended run there, would be, I think he's ready to move to the main roster, but I just don't trust WWE not to immediately throw him back into a program with Carmelo Hayes. So I think in TNA, it's a chance for him to be a bigger star in a smaller pond, even though the pond in TNA is growing. But the audience, it's slightly bigger crowds, and they're reacting to him very well. So this is why I think that, and we're going to talk about it, I think Trick should stick around in TNA for a little bit. I just think that he comes across as a bigger deal there, and he looks better. Like I don't know what and again, you've watched TNA as long as I have, slightly longer. Since the beginning, I came around in 2008, but this is like nothing new. Like it just seems like when people get to TNA, there's something that happens. It's almost like whoever their agents are just kind of like know what to do to get rid of, because Tripp's got miles of untapped potential. You know what I mean? They don't have him wrestling enough.
Yeah, he has that it factor.
Yeah.
Basically, like people want to see him. Even like it was not just the wrestling; they want to see him talk. They want to see what he does. Like even like when I think the recent NXT episode got a good showing. Probably mainly because of the rap. I mean the rap concert band. The rap concert, singing concert him and Joe Hendry had. So yeah, Trick, yeah, he has that it factor. Like when he walks in, like he's one of those guys like walks in the room, like eyes on him, so to speak, kind of like similar to the Rock. And I'm not like comparing him to the Rock, but I'm just saying like for like an it factor perspective. So are we into the battleground prediction?
Yeah. Let me just quote my last thought on this, Matt, and just real quick. Yeah, Trick and Joe are very similar just because they're two guys I think that WWE would say and see, look at these guys got the crowd, they got the look, they got the charisma.
Exactly.
The Trick in the right company, and I think Joe ends up there, but he's in the right company, no doubt. You know what I mean? They love that star power aura. But at the same time, it is a wrestling business. You have to be able to have, like, again, you mentioned The Rock. I think The Rock is like the perfect example. Like, I don't think anyone's going to say that The Rock is the greatest wrestler of all time. But when you have A-plus charisma and aura, you can get away with being a B wrestler, an average wrestler. Rock's slightly better than average, you know what I mean? But you don't need to be, you don't have to be Rick Flair. I mean, like Dean Malenko, you don't have to be a technical genius if you have the aura part, you know what I mean? Because I love Dean Malenko, but Dean Malenko really was kind of generic. He was just a great wrestler. So you could, you obviously could point to that and be like, well, that's why he wasn't over in the time he was. But yeah, Trick and Joe just have it. And I think that they're banking on the wrestling coming later.
Yeah.
But yes, let's get into that, because I'm glad we're going to finish the show with that. Let's get into that battleground prediction. What are you thinking?
Well, I'll say for both ways. I'll explain what would it mean for both guys, and then get my own prediction. So I'll start with for Trick Williams. I mean, because we know Tom Hannafin teases on commentary. Who can this guy or this girl be the first NXT talent to take a TNA title? And they're kind of like doing that for a reason, because eventually, like at some point, like this, as long as this relationship goes on, this is gonna likely happen. Originally I thought it was gonna involve the Knockouts tag titles, but I guess not. But that's for another conversation. So a win for Trick would obviously be big for both TNA and NXT, and I'll explain why. Because I used to Trick. I mean, no offense to Obafemi, Trick is like still like the top guy in NXT, at least the top guy in NXT from like a talent perspective. Like to the point he doesn't even need the NXT title right now. Like hence we're talking about this match with Trick and Hendry. And for my submission, I think it might main event Sunday. So like that alone would be even huge. And like I'm gonna explain Hendry's case in a minute. But yeah, Trick right now I don't think the main roster needs him. And like that's not a knock. Like it's just, the main roster is just completely full. Like so you don't want a talent like Trick Williams to like be lost in the shovel. Like you got to keep giving him stuff. So from that point I mentioned, yeah, a win would be, I mean, headlines for both brands. Now to Joe Henry's case, he's building his brand. He's representing TNA. He did the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, Randy Orton. Like Joe, I mean, what are some? I know there's I know there's a lot of Joe Henry supporters. For the ones who, or I guess you could say less or not, you can't take away how much how much stock and value Henry has done with that title, to the point where we're even talking about like it's being defended on a WWE PLE. Like that's crazy. So for like a win for Hendry, would continue boosting his stock, and obviously, him carrying the TNA flag. So who do I think should win? The thing is, Slammiversary's coming up, and I'll get to that in a minute. With Joe, the thing is, for someone to dethrone him, it has to be a heel. It has to be, and I know you and I, Love, we brought this up many times, like, and also like our good friend Dobby the Brain Heenan. Shout out to him. We need like
Yes.
a heel to like dethrone Joe, because Joe is so still over, and you don't want like a babyface, taking that role. Like we seen examples of that, like, at the time when Roman Reigns was like the babyface, and he was feuding with other baby faces who are over with him, and it's kind of like hard because like you still, for like the Office, they want this guy to be cheered, but when he's getting lesser cheer compared to the other baby face, you get what I mean. So like basically they don't want to, we can't put Joe Hendry in that position. So if there was someone that's gonna like dethrone him, it has to be a heel, and that's where someone like Trick Williams comes into play. I think originally I thought it was gonna be Frankie, but seeing like he's been pinned many times by Joe, I don't think that's gonna be the case. So for Trick Williams, I think winning the title would be both for, and I'll explain why. I know some are gonna say like, oh well, TNA, like Kenny Omega, well, win their TNA title, and like, listen, guys, there's gonna be a difference, because the difference is it's gonna, when Trick wins the title. All right, I'll just get my prediction. I think Trick should win it. So like when he wins, it's gonna be the same. It's gonna like He's gonna bounce off storylines between both programs. Like you're gonna see him on NXT, and then you're gonna see him on TNA, and then it's gonna latch on to the feuds of whoever is actually gonna like take the title from him, and that's where we enter Mike Santana, because he's like, obviously, like standard right now, and he's madly over. Everyone can relate to him, and yeah, you want to it's the same Rocky. It's like the same Rocky story. You relate to the underdog, like the underdog or babyface, to like win it for your city, win it for your people, that type of thing. So Mike Santana, I think, yeah, we talked about enough of him. He's going to be prime in his time, and I think that time will be at, as we know, Slammiversary, and so him rescuing the title off at Slammiversary, and that will be like a huge, because it's his home in New York, family, friends, and bam, that's how we write it.
See, yeah,
I'll
I
explain
agree with
what's
you.
next for Joe. I'll explain Joe Hendry was like once after Battleground wraps up. So yeah, yeah, Battleground. I think it should be a very good match. Hopefully, it
Okay,
advances.
I'm glad you brought all that up because I agree with you on everything. But I'm gonna just take it back and add a couple of points. So when Kenny Omega, if everyone remembers, when Kenny Omega beat Moxley and said, and he dropped that, and again, I popped when he said, "I'm going to TNA." I believe those were for. Was that during a pandemic crowd when Kenny won? When Kenny beat Moxley? Because I just almost want to say that when he showed up to TNA, I don't think that those were TNA had crowds. So where I'm going with this is, and then obviously
All right.
he beat.
So while we wait for Bert's,
Yeah. Oh no, I'm here. I'm here.
for the Battleground card, it looks pretty all right. We have Obafemi defending against Miles Bourne. Stephanie Vaquera against favorite
Can
TNA
you?
alum. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
What I
Yeah, I was just saying. Yeah, I was
oh,
just saying the Battleground card looks all right, but yeah.
okay. what I was asking you is, because I was trying to take it back to the beginning. When Kenny made that big announcement that he was coming to TNA when the night he beat Moxley, those were kind of pandemic crowds, right? There was no one there, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So, and then when he beat Rich again, there was no crowds. And then again, when he with the whole Moose thing, again, it was empty arena at Daly's place. You know, as much as people, you know, again, I'm not a WWE fan, but even I'm going to admit WWE is bigger than AEW. And WWE being involved with TNA, whether people want to admit it or not, is a big fucking deal. And now our crowds are back. Obviously, they've been back for quite a while. But the idea of Trick winning the TNA title in an NXT ring, winning that championship, and then from right then, we know the opportunity, what's on the horizon, because we have all said that it's going to be Santana that's going to challenge for whoever is the champion in his hometown. He's been on a roll. Like I said, he's the standard. But now we can see, like, you can't tell me that once this relationship started, that wasn't going to be one of the end goals. And to me, the idea of Trick walking in to enemy territory on Slammiversary with the biggest prize in TNA and Santana, it being Santana's job to bring that back, that's a big deal. So, like,
Yeah, exactly.
and the idea of, if let's say it was Joe versus Santana, I would not want to make this the Santana's home fans have to choose between him or Joe Hendry, because I would assume a lot of them are Joe Hendry fans as well, because Joe Hendry's over everywhere he goes. So I just think that this match is so much of a, and yeah, like Kenny Omega, whatever, Trick's not Kenny Omega, that doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, it's not like, and people will claim that show did a huge number. This is going to do a bigger number. You know what I mean? And the more reason for NXT fans to watch that, because as of right now, there's no reason for them to watch that show unless some of them have become TNA fans through this partnership. But if you put somebody on there who is over like Trick on that card, I think it's going to do wonders. I don't know. Again, I'm not one of the people who check WrestleTix every day, but I believe that the number that they have it for is like 4,000. I think they sold half that so far. But you know, the more marquee names you put on there, what was that?
Yeah, you're spot. No, I was saying, yeah, you're spot on. We're not like close to finishing the original opening. I think they're gonna open more, but probably around. Well, right now they got to start, calling matches, and then boosting more open. So, but yeah, it's for my prediction, I think we're gonna make probably at least up to about. Actually, I'll say, like, they are definitely going to open more seats, but like right now they're going to start getting onto promoting Slammiversary probably soon after once Battleground wraps up.
And you know what? Anyone who was like upset about us like saying, "Oh, we want a non-TNA person to win the belt," again, they don't see the bigger picture. So this is all about growing the TNA brand. So yes, Trick needs to win on Sunday. And Joe's at one of those people who Joe transcended the belt. You know what I mean? Joe doesn't need a belt. He's over. You knew Joe was over when you started seeing Joe Hendry signs at sporting events and WWE shows when he's not even worked there. So yeah, Joe doesn't need a belt, and yeah, I do think Trick gets it done tomorrow.
Let me read someone in the comments saying, all right, Terrence Sullivan saying, I don't get the trying to push the Santana to win it just because it's in New York and trash Joe Hendry in the process, ain't it? So if it wasn't New York, people would be going for Santana so bad? Look, it's not just because Slammiversary is in New York. I mean, if you've been paying attention to like what Santana has done. He's beaten Moose, he's beaten Alexander, he's beaten Mustafa. Like those are on 3 big pay-per-views. They don't really like do that unless like they're running behind someone. And to like say like in the trash, listen, Joe doesn't need the belt. I mean, I think you and I know Joe doesn't need the belt. The belt was to like, the belt was basically, the belt is basically how to put this, is riding his coattails, Joe Hendry's coattails, so to speak. Like it followed him to the Rumble, to Mania, to possibly main eventing a WPLE Sunday. So basically, the belt is riding Joe Hendry's coattails, basically. So like Joe is gonna be fine. So for like right now, it's like who's capable of like who besides Joe Hendry is capable of steering the ship, and I think it's someone like Mike Santana. So.
I think that they're 2 separate issues, and Santana just happened to be over. I think it's.
Let me see another comment from Talents. I like Santana a lot, by the way, bitch, but to shorten the most over guy is bad business, in my opinion. Again, Joe's gonna be fine. Like, he doesn't need the belt. Like, the belt was the belt and his coattails. So Santana, this is basically he need at the same time like needs that crowning achievement to show like.
Here, to Terrence's point, I think 2 things can be true, and just because Santana getting hot doesn't.
So I'll leave it at that. Yeah.
I think that Santana getting hot just happens to be coincidence that one of the biggest shows of the year happens to be in his hometown. And to Terrence's point, if Trick loses on Sunday, it's not a short run. And I'm of the belief that I do like not having to be pigeon. I don't think Joe is signing again with TNA. And I don't know when his contract is over, but I'm trying to make it so they don't have to have a situation where he just randomly drops the title. And Santana has earned this. Santana is so over, and Santana, I think everyone watches him knows he's destined to be world champion at some point. So starting to kind of prepare for Joe's to leave, if that happens, I don't have a problem with that. And so crowning Santana to be the guy, I think that's a good choice, because I'm not saying anyone's Joe Hendry, but if you watch the shows, Santana is very over with the crowd. And technically, I think people look at him as a TNA guy who just happened to leave for a little bit. When he came back, it was almost like nothing had changed. He's a huge part of TNA, like in the 2010s. So again, Joe Hendry doesn't need the belt. And again, he became world champion. I think that should be an achievement of itself. No one's champion forever. So I think that you have to, this is just business. And I'm sorry. I just think that Trick versus Santana is a bigger match. I don't know. And at the end of the day, this is a business. They need to put butts in seats. It's like Joe's not going to be on the card. And side note, I think that we're going to get an Elijah heel turn, and Joe versus Hendry, I think will be Joe versus Elijah will be a good match.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what? Any final thoughts?
Yeah. So for Unsiege, yeah, it was a good show. I think folks should take the time to give a look at it. It's great crowd in Canada. Definitely looking forward to Sunday and revisiting this. Looking forward to Sunday and revisiting this conversation. So yeah. Also also want to again thank you guys, Burr, for letting me side along with you. Do these fun reviews. It's gonna be very fun.
Yeah, definitely. I was happy to have you. You're always in the comments. No one rides for TNA as much as you, so I knew people would be happy about that. As far as Under Siege, yeah. I'd name me one company whose quote unquote B shows deliver like A shows. I don't think you could find one. So again, I'm gonna say what I always say: don't sleep on TNA. If you are, now's the better time. What a better time to get back on the train. They've been around for 20 plus years for a reason, so nothing's stopping them. As far as so yeah, I want to wrap this up by saying, yeah, this was a great show. Make sure that you pay attention to every time Body Slam goes live. I want you to subscribe to this podcast, subscribe to Body Slam. And Io, where can we find more of you?
You guys can follow me on Twitter at Frequency IO as shown on the display.
Okay.
You can see me tweeting, wrestling, TNA stuff, that's about it.
All right, yeah, and you can just find me at Twitter at BroMacklin11, and always here. We go live every Thursday for Impact Weekly shows, and of course, we're going to be here covering every single pay-per-view. And quick turnaround, I believe, 2 weeks till Against All Odds, and that should be another monster show. Again, there's no matches announced, but I have more faith in TNA than anyone, so that should be another great card. But with that being said, I want to thank you guys for joining. Thank you, Io, and have a great day.